What's up, guys? It's your boy Rich. So it's already challenging for a watch company to produce a Moonphase complication that doesn't look like all the rest. It's almost impossible for a watch company to produce something that is really unique with the Moonphase complication. But Linde Werdelin has done it again with her all-new Moonlite. Let's go check it out. Let's go.
And here is Linde Werdelin's latest creation, the Moonlite, which is part of their Octopus collection. So essentially, Linde Werdelin has three collections: the 3-timer, the Spido, and the Octopus. The Moonlite is in 44 millimeters. It's 46 millimeters from lug to lug, which is what I think makes it wearable for any size wrist. And it's 15 millimeters tall. So before I get into the elephant in the room regarding this being a dive watch, I have to talk about what first aesthetically caught my attention regarding the Moonlite. And that would have to be this dial, right? With its unique Moonphase complications. It's certainly not an easy thing for a watch company to come up with a unique Moonphase complication, but I think Linde Werdelin nailed it with what they call their photorealistic images. And I just think it comes across wonderfully. I also like the partially skeletonized dial that exposes just the right amount of the phases of the moon. And I've always liked their markers 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9, and the hands. But I know we want to get a really good look at this loom, so here we go. It just comes out marvelously. So we have to talk about the elephant in the room because this is a legitimate dive watch. It's water resistant to 300 meters. And part of all Linde Werdelin models is their DNA is adventure and diving. So there is no question about it being a legitimate dive watch, but it doesn't have the customary or traditional 60-minute markers on the bezel. It doesn't even have a unidirectional turning bezel. So how could this be a legitimate dive watch? Well, I think those bezels that we see in the traditional dive watches have a real purpose and function. I mean, I use mine if I want to time my run for 20 minutes. Or if I want to time my eggs for 2 minutes. They just have a great purpose in our everyday life. Not so much for a serious diver, because a serious diver will not rely on their bezel when they are in their deep dive. They use computers that have a lot more information than just how much oxygen is left before you have to surface. I mean, they have dive depth. They have all kinds of data on those computers that they rely on. They may rely on the bezel as a distant second. It is a helpful reminder, but certainly not what the serious divers rely on. They rely on those computers. So just because it doesn't have what we are accustomed to in a dive watch, it does not make it not a dive watch. This is very much of a dive watch. And in fact, I think I like this look. It lends itself to a much cleaner look. The Moonphase complications, according to Linde Werdelin's website, the Moonphase complication enables the diver to track the development of the moon phases and with that the impact on tides and ambient light, and therefore plan the optimal time for night dives. Again, I am not a serious diver like that, but it sounds convenient, and I know that people actually use this for that purpose. So it's just a really very striking purpose, and I'm sure a lot of people had that question about the bezel. But I do like the submersible looks with the 8 screws on the bezel. It is a black ceramic bezel. And if you are familiar with Linde Werdelin, you know these 4 screws around the case. And that's not cosmetic. They actually serve a purpose. Those are how we interchange between the strap, the band, and the bracelet. So it just is a seamless integration into the case, and it just works out really nicely in terms of aesthetics. The other star of the Moonlite has to be this case. This is the alloy that they call ALW for alloy Linde Werdelin. And they use a colorless coating that makes this case stronger than steel and twice as light as titanium. So here is Linde Werdelin's Spido, which is made, or the case is made entirely of titanium. Is the Moonlite really lighter than the all titanium case? Yes, it is. Is it twice as light? Well, I didn't actually weigh it, but I can tell you that this is significantly lighter than the all titanium case. So if we took a blindfolded test, we could easily tell which watch is lighter in the hand, and that would have to be the Moonlite. So they are correct in their claim that this is lighter than titanium. It also has a really nice silky feel to it. Just a great looking case. And because this is colorless, this is its natural color. So, you know, it kind of sort of looks like maybe a cement and a very light army green. And if we compare that to the natural color of titanium or the traditional color of titanium, we can see the difference. The titanium is more of a gray finish on the case versus the natural color of their proprietary alloy, the ALW. You can see the difference clearly right there. I like this look a lot. I like the feel of it, and I really like how light this is. Look, I'm familiar with titanium, and titanium is just a really light watch. It's one of my favorite materials, but there is something special about this case. So here is their solid case back with the octopus. And what is the movement that is powering the Moonlite? Well, they use a heavily modified ETA 2893. And the retail price on the Moonlite is $14,476. And I can already hear some people saying, well, for that kind of money, I would rather own a Rolex Submariner or 3 Omega Seamasters. And those are options to us. But I think the owner of a Linde Werdelin is someone who either already has those watches and is clearly well off and wants something different. And I thought we would hear from Jorn Werdelin on who a Linde Werdelin client is. So here's Jorn from Virtual Micro.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what kind of client is a Linde Werdelin client? And you actually started to touch on that.
Well, I mean, very often it's not necessarily someone who is extreme, sporty, dives, climbs mountains, etc. But I think someone who likes that, those two universes and also what that brings along in terms of aesthetics, functionality, and how we see ourselves, and also what we do, vis-a-vis nature and how we, conduct ourselves. And then obviously, there's a very personal element to it. And, very often I am directly involved in a sale or how, go meet with customers. They come here, very happy to meet with them. Sometimes it obviously happens in London that, we bump into someone and, it's a Linde Werdelin owner, and it's nice to have that direct connection with it.
And because it just does not have the traditional looks of a dive watch, and because Linde Werdelin is anything but a traditional company, I mean, they've always been innovative. They've always been groundbreaking when they started. And Linde Werdelin, if you don't know, is not a new brand. They've been around since 2002. So they're coming on nearly 20 years of knowing what they're doing. And here is a 3-timer that introduced me to the brand. And this was from 18, 19 years ago. So it's just a timeless classic design. This is the very first model that I said, man, I would love to own a Linde Werdelin one day. So you can see how relevant this design is and just how well it's aged. It just has a tremendous bracelet on it. So, Linde Werdelin has earned that right to be innovative and not follow the traditional path that a lot of other watch companies do. I mean, look, a safe bet is to follow the trends, right? But those are the watches that we stop wearing after a year or two at most, and then we put them away, and we never wear those watches again because they're no longer relevant. They were trendy when we bought them. They were popular. They were part of the in crowd, and we bought those watches because of that. Again, when I'm talking about the 3-timer, a design from 2000 and the early 2000s, I still come back to this watch as just one of my favorite designs. It's just a really timeless look, and just, again, Linde Werdelin has earned that right to come up with anything they want to come up with because they've proven a test of time. So, kudos to Linde Werdelin. I've gotten a chance to get to know Jorn over the past several months, and I can honestly tell you that he is a very charismatic, a very genuine person. What you see on camera is the way that he is off camera. And it's just very helpful to know that the owner of the company or the people that run the brand is that way. I mean, we don't buy the watches because of the owner, right? We buy the watch because we like the way that the watch looks. But it's always helpful when the people running the company are great. And I will add to that if the people running a company have a bad reputation, we are not going to buy their products. So it is only advantageous for the people running the company to have a good reputation, and Jorn and Mort just have stellar reputations, and I can really attest what a great guy Jorn is. He's just one of my idols in the watch industry, and it was very important to me knowing that it was not a letdown, that all the things I've read about, all the things I've heard about Jorn were actually true. What a really great guy he is. So, if we're looking for that unique dive watch or just a great daily watch that's going to stand out from across the room, and we don't want a watch that everyone else has. And I think any Linde Werdelin is going to be a really great option for us because they've proven a test of time. Certainly they are not really low in price. They are not, I mean, we can't find change around a couch to pick up a Linde Werdelin. But, you know, if we are fortunate enough, then a Linde Werdelin is just going to really hold up really well. This is $14,000, but they start, I believe, around $5,000 or $6,000 on up for different models, so they are not all priced at this point. But if this is an expensive price point for us, they do have a pre-owned collection on their website. So they've done all the vetting and all the due diligence, knowing that those Linde Werdelins that they sell on their website are authentic and true. So that is a great way to get into a Linde Werdelin. If we want to and we are looking for a way to save money, we can get one of those pre-owned watches on their website. It is just playing roulette when we're talking about pre-owned watches, right? We have no idea what we're going to get, especially when we're going to spend a few $1,000s. Just the worst part of watch collecting is doing the vetting, doing the due diligence, worrying, is this a genuine or is this a Franken? What went into this watch? And we don't have those worries now because Linde Werdelin has done all of that for us when they are carrying their pre-owned watches. So that's just another great option if we want to look into getting into a Linde Werdelin.
Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time. So it's already it's already challenging enough for a company to introduce us to a Moonphase. So it's already challenging enough for a watch company to introduce us to a